Hi, my name is Kylie Christensen, and I'm doing this Who's the Fairest of Them All on the Willingness to Communicate scale. So just a little background, this scale is not focusing on your response to people, it's focusing on how much you are willing to initiate an interaction. So it talks about how most people are likely to respond to a direct question, but they wanted to dig deeper and look at people, if a person was willing to initiate the communication or continue the conversation after the direct question was asked, or if they wanted to cut off the conversation. So the outside source that I use was titled Motivation and Willingness to Communicate in English, Synthesizing Socio-Educational and WTCE Models. It basically focuses on people using English as a second language and their willingness to communicate, and the different factors that lowered their willingness to communicate. So one of the main factors that lowered people's willingness to communicate was anxiety in strange situations or situations that they didn't know a lot about. And that makes sense because we talk a lot about uncertainty avoidance and how the reason that we communicate with people is to lower that and lower our levels of anxiety and to become more comfortable with them. And so when considering this study, it talked about 4 contexts and 3 different types of receivers. So the contexts were group discussions, meetings, interpersonal, and public speaking. And for me personally, the context really didn't change my willingness to communicate. I kind of stayed in a 10% range, which to me doesn't seem like that big of a deal. So my highest one was actually public speaking, and I feel like that's more of just being a communication major. I'm more open to different situations of public speaking. My lowest one was meetings. Just because that seems like something that you would have to be very knowledgeable about, and you're going to have a lot of different people asking you questions because you should be someone that's highly qualified, and just not having a lot of job experience, that would seem kind of stressful to me and kind of raise my anxiety levels. And then receivers, I thought that this was really interesting that the higher level of a relationship that I would have with someone increased the percentage that I would be willing to communicate. So like a stranger, I had a 73%, acquaintance was 78%, and friend was 99%. So I took this kind of as our book talks about the relationship stages. So a stranger I see as someone in the 5 stages of relationship growth, as someone that you're kind of initiating your relationship with, so you have high levels of anxiety about it because you don't know a lot about that person. You're trying to reduce that, but you're still kind of figuring out who they are. And then an acquaintance would be someone that you are experimenting or intensifying. I kind of saw that as more of the experimenting, but someone that you don't know a lot about, you're slowly starting to get a little bit more information about. But a friend is someone that you're in that intensifying, integrating, and bonding portions of your relationship. So in those kind of things, you're sharing a lot more about each other. You're spending a lot more time together. You know a lot more about the person. So in my personal opinion, at least for me, it didn't really matter the context. It more depended on the people that I would be communicating with, if I was more willing to communicate or not.